All right. Well, we're going to move along. At this point, if you haven't grabbed some lunch, please do so. Refill your coffees. But we are going to keep moving. We have a power-packed afternoon, and next up is our president, Shane Snyder from Barcoding. So, Shane, I know that you have a good amount to talk to us about. So I'm just going to let you get started. Oh, and you're on mute. I'll help you out there.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yep, sounds good.
Fantastic. Jeez, I don't know. Followed Kevin from the professor from Memphis. Not easy, right?
Nope.
That guy is the definition of the supply chain geek. And but notice I brought the good doctor with me today so I've got at least a Dr. John in the house with me. So I'm gonna be a little bit geeked up. Although I don't think Dr. John knew anything about barcodes or RFIDs. So great session, Kevin, really was. And, just got done scanning 2.3 billion codes just to verify things out there, right? So that's kind of the definition of a supply chain geek. So I just have, I have some content. I don't know if I've got a lot. I've got about 20 minutes here. Before we move on to the rest of the folks out there. But I wanted to take a few minutes to kind of share some thoughts around the industry in general, things that are going on in our world, where barcoding fits into all of that, where this partner community fits into all of that, where our customers, our prospects, even our competitors fit into all of this. So I'll start with a thank you to the folks that put this together, Jody and her team. Thanks for investing the time and energy to get this forum together. I think it's a really valuable tool out there for the folks that are in attendance. And thanks for everybody for participating today. So, it's a great opportunity to take a moment in time and just kind of stop and reflect a little bit on the industry, some of the new things coming up. We heard from Apt a little bit earlier. We heard from Chip a little bit earlier, and some of the other folks that have spoken already. And it's a time when it's a time of unrest. It's a time of change. It's a time of kind of the unknowns out there. And I was thinking about unknowns this morning. There's kind of this famous quote about unknowns out there, right? Maybe not the most popular guy ever in the world, but this guy, Donald Rumsfeld, was famously quoted about knowns, right? There are known knowns. There are things we know. There are also known unknowns. That is to say, there are some things we do not know. And, when I think about that, that's really what drives us to be supply chain geeks out there. I think everybody had a great answer for it. And Kevin inserted himself into a laser just to prove the point. But, we're really in search of that unknown out there in terms of kind of what's next. How do we best service our clients? How do we take great care of our employees? How do we address kind of all the issues that drive us from a business standpoint today, and all those things that are going on in terms of dealing with the response. And earlier we talked about wave and all those things. So, in my view of it, we know a lot about what's going on in our world today, but there's a lot that we don't know. And, it's people like those folks that are on the Zoom meeting today that will drive us more towards knowing more than what we know today, and coming up with answers and adapting to solve business issues and social issues and take care of one another out there. So, it's kind of this constant strive for solving for the unknowns that are out there. Just check my time and make sure I'm on track here. So talk a little bit about barcoding. We started the year out 2020, like probably the rest of the people on the phone today, or the Zoom call today. This seminar with probably a whole different perspective of what 2020 had in store for us. And obviously, a lot has changed over the last 100 days. And I firmly suspect that a lot will change over the next 100 days out there. So we started our year as an organization, and we got very focused on how do we do things better than ever, right? And how do we make little changes and large changes, internal and external to the organization, on a personal level, just to do things better. And we really focused on two primary areas in that regard. And we've heard them spoken about a little bit this morning already, which was really interesting. We talked about improving the customer experience, and we talked about improving the employee experience, right? And so when we think about the experiences of those two groups of people out there, we frame it in terms of how do we acquire new employees, how do we acquire new customers, how do we expand the value of what we're doing for our employees, how do we expand the value for our customers that are out there, and then how do we retain both of those, right? We know that it's one of the oft quoted things that people say is like, our most invaluable asset is our employees. Well, what does that really mean? And how do we make sure that they continue to expand in their role and continue to stay? And from a customer standpoint, how do we do the same? So those were the two areas we were focused on, with kind of those three subcategories of acquisition, expansion, and retention. David from Apt Electronics talked about two of them, right? He talked about that customer experience. Matt asked him several times during that session about, hey, why are you people still thriving? Why are you succeeding during this difficult time? And what I heard back loud and clear was it was all about that customer experience, right? And Apt traditionally for years, I think they've been in business 84 years. It's all about kind of that showroom and that experience that people get with that real hands-on, face-to-face experience. Well, hey, life has changed, right? And so Apt has very quickly moved to extend that experience for their customers, even though it might be physically or socially distanced out there. Other interesting thing I think he's talked about was, the adoption of technology by employees to have that positive impact on customers, and making sure they sought the employees' counsel or feedback before adopting new technology, knowing full well that those people were going to be the ones that were really going to make the difference from a customer standpoint. Chip also talked about, Chip Yeager from Zebra talked about the customer experience and in turn the employee experience, right? Providing solution sets around maybe not maintaining physical distancing, but tracking physical distancing to make sure that providing a safe environment for employees to operate in on a regular basis. So. Certainly 2020 is a very complex year, right? In lots of different ways. And, as I've talked with everybody in our company about, we do a regular monthly video call to update people on kind of what's going on within the company. And we started these back in March as we entered this pandemic period here in the US and Canada. And we oftentimes hear this word unprecedented. It's this unprecedented time. And I kind of bristle at that a little bit in that, it's just our latest challenge, right? There's been lots of challenges for many generations in the past, and there'll be many challenges, many generations in the future. So this one is different, but I don't think it's unprecedented, right? There's lots of things that have gone on out there, and it's a matter of how do you react to that, right? How do you maybe not embrace a pandemic, but what is it you're doing personally, and what are you doing collectively as an organization to deal with those things out there? And it's just our latest hill to climb as a people, all right, as a global population out there. And we see lots of different ways that people are reacting, right? Obviously, Chip talked about kind of this rise in retail deliveries going from 16% to 27%. You might say, hey, that's only a 9% increase. Well, it's 9 percentage points, but it's a 50+% increase. And when you factor it in across the billions of transactions that are done in the retail space every year, it's a sizable jump, right? And we see that in terms of driving technology needs that are required out there. We see it in terms of environmental impact out there. We see it in lots of different phases. So, that adds to another level of complexity that we're dealing with out there. We also deal with kind of that instant expert syndrome. It's amazing how many people that have suddenly become expert in terms of physical distancing or body temperature monitoring and all those things. And I don't know that they're bad people, right? But because everybody's just trying to address it and they're trying to do the best they can with the data they have. But there's lots of instant experts out there. All of a sudden, everybody's on the right side of history of coming up with solutions to help with this. So, our reaction as an organization and my reaction personally is, to not retreat, but just kind of reestablish what is fundamental to the company, what's important to our organization, what is important to us personally, and just focus on the core is what I call it. And first and foremost, and it came through loud and clear, and I'd seen some articles that I read and watched some videos of webinars about this, and it really made sense to me. Now, beyond any other time that I've been with barcoding, it's time to focus on our customers, right? It's time to find out from them, what can we do to help, right? It's not a time to be opportunistic or be that instant expert at something. It's time to, we know that our employees and our customers have driven our success as an organization. And it's time to listen to them, right? And ask them actively, what is it that we can do personally? What can we do as an organization to help them out there? It's also a time not to be opportunistic. It's not the time to start, flaunting a bunch of stuff around how do we deal with the pandemic? How do we not become that instant expert, right? Doesn't mean we don't pursue some of those things. It doesn't mean that we haven't come up with some solutions that we believe will help our clients to reopen. We do a lot of work in the retail space, and curbside delivery is a huge reality now in retail, right? It's another way to get product out the door, and so we're helping some of the largest retailers in America implement technology to help them with that curbside delivery, right? To deal with the reality of physical distancing and kind of change in consumerism and consumer habits. But, I will raise my hand and agree with Chip in that we are social beings, right? We are people that, David from App said it, right? It's different than that face-to-face conversation, right? So retail, the brick and mortar is not going anywhere. How we reopen stores, how we interact with customers, how we deliver product may change. But, at the end of the day, there's lots of talks about surges out there today. But, I think one of the things we've seen over the past 30 days, certainly here in Maryland and different parts of the United States, is it's kind of this surge where people want to get out in public. They want to be returning to some form of normalcy in a retail environment. Certainly being safe and observing mask wearing and all those things. But, at the end of the day, we are social beings, and Zoom and Teams and all those different video technologies we have are fantastic, and they help bridge the gap. But at the end of the day, for the most part, we are people that want to interact directly with others out there. I think it's incumbent upon us as an organization to be transparent. Let our customers know what we're doing within the organization. Let our employees know what we're doing within the organization, to make sure that there's a clear path and transparency in really all functions of our organization. I think that's people talk about being authentic. If there's a time to be authentic, today's the day, right? As we go through this, there's enough nervousness in general in the marketplace that if you're not authentic, if you're not being transparent as an organization or as an individual, you're really not hitting the mark out there, right? So being transparent. I think it's important for us to be stable as an organization, right? So what does that mean? That means to be consistent. It adds into being transparent out there, being that when a client calls, they know, or has an issue, they know that we're a stable organization, that we've prepared well to deal with the eventualities and some of the changes that are going on in the marketplace that are out there. I think it's important for us to, very actively, I talk about transparency and getting feedback from our clients, to be very active in terms of driving that conversation and pushing out there to actively seek folks. Don't be shy. Doesn't mean you go out there and be an all-time expert on all new things, but it's important that we take it upon ourselves to drive things. And then last but not least, I'll say this, I think it's interesting that we're doing this technology and kind of industry summit today, which is fantastic. Lots of great things will come of this, and lots of good questions already. And I'm sure there'll be more questions as the afternoon goes along. But don't forget to give back, right? Our partners, our employees, our customers, folks are here. And today, in large part, we're supporting Alan, right? Which is doing tremendous work because, they're dealing with helping to address things like, I think it was Kenya, how do we get test kits to Kenya? But, for sure, as we enter July and through the summer months, they'll be dealing with other urgent matters that are going on in our society above and beyond just the corona relief that we're dealing with today. There's a decent chance there'll be a hurricane or two that roll through here that they'll be able to assist with. So I think it's incumbent upon us as individuals. I think it's vital for us as organizations to make sure that we don't, we're not too self-reflective all the time, that we do take a moment in time and take that opportunity to give back. So very much want to thank our partners who made this day happen. The Zebras, the Honeywells, the Data Logics that are out there, and I'm sure I've missed a couple, that really helped make this possible today, and our ability to not only host this, but to make sure that we're giving back to the community out there that are helping people deal with this pandemic out there. So, I think if we follow some of those steps we talked about out there, right, letting people know, asking people how you can help, don't be that opportunistic person out there, being transparent, driving the conversation, making sure we're giving back, that will kind of fulfill those things we talked about at the beginning of the year when we talked about being better together, because you'll see those taglines out there on social media posts, or I've seen some billboards around this, right? And we're all in it together. Very much true. We're in a pandemic, and then it's kind of a global thing, right? Just like we're in it together, I think if we collectively follow these things that we talk about, that we'll come out of this together as a group. So again, thank you to the team that put this together, Jody and her team, for putting this together today. Thank you to our sponsors for making it possible. Thank you for kind of your social conscience to help donate to Alon, as well as the Food Bank in Canada, as as we collectively try to work out of this thing together, which I'm very confident we will. It's an unknown. I'll go all the way back to the unknown as to when that comes out fully. But I do know that we're closer to today than we were yesterday. So thank you very much, and happy to take any questions that you folks have, or moving on to the next presenter, however you want to do that. If you guys want to see the Dr. John poster, again, I can show that. I don't have any cool xenon laser things to play with.
Well, I don't see any questions yet from the team, but I do want to ask what makes you a supply chain?
It's that pursuit of continuing to learn, right? To discover answers to those unknowns. It's that You know, I don't know if it's something that you invent. You either are interested in learning and solving the unknown, or you're not. And I'm always in pursuit of learning the unknown.
That's awesome. Brings up my next book, Mindset, which you actually gave to our entire organization 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, about.
So beginning of the call, if you weren't here, I mentioned a book called The Technology Fallacy and why this book is awesome. My second book recommendation for today is Mindset. It's a book that our entire organization received as part of our kickoff conference, and something that I know I learned a lot from this book, and we've kind of adopted this as our way of thinking in terms of being growth mindset individuals. Learn-it-alls is a great way to phrase it. But I think that's what you kind of left us with was, you know, as long as we continue to learn and grow, try things, continuously improve, go after the unknowns, that we'll ultimately be successful during this, you know, coming out of this pandemic, but then ultimately, no matter what challenges come our way.
Agreed.
Cool. Well, good. Okay, so I think we popped the link in for this book. This book, in also just as a side note for everyone who's listening, is also really good just as like a person. It's not necessarily a business book, for parents out there, for people who it's a highly recommend. It's a good read.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll pitch the book one last time, right? So fundamentally, there are two mindsets in the world. There's a fixed mindset, and there's a growth mindset. I contend that those with the growth mindset will thrive through and out of this coronavirus pandemic that we're in today. Those with the fixed mindset are going to continue to struggle. And I would embrace the new and different, and I'm not sure I embrace COVID-19, but you know, it's a reality in our world today. It's a matter of, you know, continuing to pursue solving that and helping others solve it along the way.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us and for giving us an update today. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely.
I'm assuming that folks can reach out to you directly on
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
feel free. Shane Snyder at barcoding.com, and happy to take those. It might be a half hour or so because I have to take the dog for a walk. Okay, I got to get lunch and take the dog for a walk. These are the priorities right now.
Yes, well, that is the benefit of a virtual conference. So we'll let you go. I'm going to go ahead and ask our next presenters to go ahead and join.